Are we?
bit. Loss of voice is starting to happen as well because of how much emotion was portrayed this weekend. It was a birthday that
Indeed.
was also celebrated as well from the panel. But want to thank everybody again for giving us a like and subscribe. It is your boy E over here with Waj and TC. Gentlemen, how are we feeling this Monday afternoon after the Champions League final?
Well, obviously, still wearing the badge. Voice is hoarse. Emotions are still a bit down, but you know what? It was damn good to see the parade and see the team at least be able to celebrate with the fans despite the loss. So, it's bittersweet still, but we march on.
Yeah, yeah. TC, sir. You did say like we were lucky that we none of our predictions had PKs. Neither did yours, but you did say it's a good chance that it can go to PKs. So how are you
No, this
feeling?
this is one of those times where I'm not proud to say that I told you so. I think that it was a resilient Arsenal side that really led the game throughout the game. They really had dominance, and it really was for a large part of the game gave PSG had no real outs in that. In fact, so I think Arsenal fans and the Arsenal team can hold their hands up as high and say, up until that penalty moment, I think that they were very much the team on top, just based on the play. They nullified PSG's attack. It was to the fact they were just everyone, all of their outlets, all their wing play we'd spoken about, all their none of them seemed to be able to really get anything going. So and then obviously a number of perhaps and pretentious, dubious refereeing calls. People have said, I didn't really think that there was really dubious. I didn't think Saka's handball was a handball. It clearly came off his body, so that one was a nullified for me. I don't know about the penalty was a clear penalty. Unfortunately, like he did, he did take a man down. Unfortunately, um,
Unfortunate.
the Nani Manwaki one, I think, is the one that is also contentious about whether or not he was fouled or not in the box. Um, and but like then you get to penalties, and penalties, boy, it's like you can't say nothing about nothing because penalties is really like, yes, I think it does come down to practice and getting used to it and having your the winter sudden death. I think as a that happened. Ronaldo's done that. It's happened. It's happened to the biggest players in the biggest stages. So you know what? You can't put blame on anyone. I think it is what it is. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw and penalties. So when he got to penalties, I was like, yo, you can't take a winner from here. From penalties, it literally is luck of the draw. There is
Yeah.
nothing. So once
Hmm.
you got to that point, it's literally playing blackjack. So
Yeah.
I think you should be proud. E,
Oh, super happy about the squad. I don't know if
Wow.
any of our listeners saw my nice impassioned defense directly after the match.
we all did, yes.
No, we
That
all
was
did.
just even with a fellow Arsenal fan just bantering about how he didn't feel the team was world class, even if the ascendancy during this time with Arteta back in the Champions League 3 years running, we've only seen uh, continued progress within and the team continually beating other world class teams. I still feel as though that means this team is world class. They have to make some updates, which we'll discuss a little bit later. But right now, I think we just lost to the team that is now one of very few teams that have gone back to back within the Champions League as well. PSG are a footballing institution right now with how young their players are and how relatively amazing and well drilled Luis Enrique has this squad. So very happy about the performance. We'll get into like the depths, the tactical analysis. I really want to talk about those different shouts, especially with the penalties, the handballs, the amount of fouls that were just not called for Arsenal compared to PSG in very clear situations and very unclear situations as to why things were called fouls. But Still, PSG, they had the ball 75% of the time. Arsenal had it 25% of the time. Arsenal made their one shot count to make it 1-1, and then PSG made their penalty, their moment of brilliance, making a penalty appear out of nothing because Kvaratskhelia to that moment, Mascara had him pretty clamped with a lot of help from Saka playing wing back, but it was a very well drilled performance, and sometimes you just need moments like that to be able to get in. But before we start, again, thank everybody for giving us some love, listening, like, subscribe, give us some more love. We needs it. The algorithm needs to keep being fed, so we have to listen to our overlords over at the Google algorithm shop. So let's start off with the match. When we first came into it, our predictions 3-2, 2-1, 2-1, and Arsenal come out swinging. You see PSG just, I mean, they're doing what they're doing. Suddenly you get one break open. Uh, the ball did ricochet off of Trossard due to the rule because it was an inadvertent off of their own player. That didn't get called as a handball. So that was an amazing to see. Havertz buried. This is the second Champions League final. He's buried the ball into the back of the net, and Arsenal off to a really high flying start, 1-0. Suddenly, you see the Wolves start to bite. You start to see PSG really start to flex. But then there becomes a very strong lull moment where you're just like, okay, what are they doing behind the ball? Arsenal tactically drilled as Mikel Arteta does. He made sure that within that first half, it was very hard for PSG to find space. Now, Waj, as you were watching the match, and I'm sure you were watching bated breath, like hand over mouth, just like, oh my God, here we go. Were there really big chances in the first half that you saw PSG really saying, oh, yeah, we're the better attacking squad? They were just passing the ball around like it was watching Man City versus Arsenal back in the Carabao Cup final. So, Waj, would love to start with you about like what you thought of that first half.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm still getting my voice back. You know, it was pretty much, like I even called, a few, before we talked about all this last week, that we were going to see PSG's offense versus Arsenal's defense. But what we saw is no creativity coming out of PSG. They could not figure out how to go. I mean, Vitinha obviously had the most touches throughout the match, and he was absolutely their maestro throughout the whole match. But they could not figure out a way to break them down. And as you said, with Saka doing double up play as a wingback, with Mascara, that completely shut down Kvaratskhelia, and Dembélé wasn't getting any, couldn't unlock, going down the middle as well. That's why he changed to going to the wing later and having Doué on, or having Doué switch with him. So I think it was a masterstroke by Arteta to really find these, and the boys to really find these amazing ways to break down the offense of PSG. But, as the stats show, there's only so long you can do that for and give them the ball before they're going to, find some way to get through, which is obviously ultimately what happened in the second half when they got reinvigorated. So, yeah, I think it was a great testament to Arsenal's defense all the way through. I mean, look, the whole team defensively playing like that to just shut down PSG's offense was, I think, like I said, a masterstroke.
Completely agree with you there. It was that first half had a lot of just like very interesting interplay, especially within the midfield. Vitinha, João Neves, they were just battling. Every time Arsenal had the ball, got to give it to them. They just decided we're not going to keep hold of it in our half. We're just going to kick it away. Let's just keep the game in front of us. And for large swaths of the match, you could see the ball being deflated out of PSG's feet. Like, amazing tackles. It was a very bone crunching game. One thing that I'm still a little upset with is at the end of the half, Arsenal get a corner, and
that was bullshit.
Yeah, it was.
That was bullshit on Saka fucking around. No offense, I think Saka wasted time. Yeah, that was clearly on Arsenal's fuckery.
No, there are
Yeah,
two ways to look at it for sure.
yeah.
Because Arsenal, we like to play the slow, deliberate game. But also within Europe, that referee, he was just like, you know what? I'm not having it. I'm not having it with the time
Uh,
wasting,
yeah.
any of that. And to TC's point right now, Saka took a minute after the
Mm-hmm.
call
He
was
did.
made before delivering a ball. So I'm upset because you should still allow the play to go because come on now, a
No,
minute. I mean, a minute after, I'm okay with that. Like
nah,
if it's a
nah,
minute and
no,
30, like yeah, what are we doing?
no.
But
You see, what you're saying is you're just being biased because your team. If it was on
no,
the other foot,
no,
no, hold on. If it was on the
I've
other
watched it
foot,
other times.
if it was on the other foot, because what it was is that like it was purposely being timed out, and they were walking it out, and we saw the whole play, and they kept on speeding it up, and unfortunately for Saka, the referee was just like you could see he was kind of like petulant in his even for that walk up to the thing, it was like, oh, okay, you want to take the piss. The problem is you have the referee has to put, sorry, the ref has to have a line on has to draw a line. Otherwise, you allow that fuckery to go. So next time the corner was taken, Saka won't be messing about. Let me tell you, he'll be taking that quick sticks. But what I find interesting is that like no one is talking about the low block Arsenal played for a majority of that game. After that, like you guys played a very like a low block that was like come. And I understand it's the final. You're 1-0 up for a long time. You drew them onto you, and I think that's where you started to like for a long. And that's where PSG was just kind of going back and forth. But it was just because there was just like this low block in front of them, in front of like, and they couldn't break it down. And it was going to happen. And then you said something happened and then nothing. But I think that's where the
You're right.
mindset had to stay where it was in the first half initially was you have to put on because what happens is you stretch games in Premier League games when you're chasing the game you'll see more gaps because it's not like we're going to play a low block. Maybe if it's like a low team, like no disrespect to anyone, but a Sunderland versus like anyone in the top six, and they're winning
oh, this
1-0,
is
they'll
in
play
Europe.
the
Oh,
towards
like
the end.
Burnley.
Yeah. And so if you're able to do that, if you could still attack them and then they would have that more stretched out feel, which obviously makes you more vulnerable, which you don't want against Kvaratskhelia and everyone else, because then if you're attacking. However, it does leave you vulnerable. So it's a double-edged sword, you know?
Agreed.
And
Mm-hmm.
then you kind of when you see the changes now, that was interesting substitutions that were made later in the game where you're like, okay, who are you taking off? Who are your penalty takers? Why you take you know? And I thought the same for PSG. I was just like interesting changes to make based on who they were going to take penalties. But you have belief in your squad. But I
Yeah,
thought that was very low for a long part of that game. I was like, well, Arsenal fans, they'll be talking about, especially my two friends over here, talking about the low block the whole season. All I
yeah.
Yeah.
see here is the lowest of the low, and it was a great low block. But you know to play that for 90 minutes at high tempo is tough.
It's tough,
Absolutely.
but one thing I do want to bring up is Arsenal's attack has been much maligned this entire season. Trossard and Saka, they like Arteta knew he was just like, "Hey, look, this is the way that we need to play. We have our goal. We need to be able to do this." One thing that people are not talking about in this match is how he set up the team to stop any counterattack. Because of that low block, Arsenal would have been able to counterattack. But because every time the ball made it to our wings, somebody was right there. Pacho, Mendez, Hakimi, somebody was right there to win their one-on-one battle in defense, and they were able to just completely snuff out. There were also some foul calls that just weren't called for Arsenal. There were a few on Havertz in the middle of the pitch where he's getting completely pushed over, and the ref is just saying, "Get up." I'm watching how Saka finally wins the ball back. Due is sliding in. Saka's foot goes over the ball, ends up his back foot ends up hitting Due in the back leg with his studs, and Saka gets the call, and you're like, he flew in for the actual challenge, and how is he getting the call right now? So you get that little bit of
Nah,
there was some shithousery
nah.
that was coming from that referee during the match.
Ah, come
But
on, come on, come
but that
on,
was
come on. It's a
that
contact sport, dog. If a
no,
referee
it was
wants
Yeah.
to play
definitely
a game that's
contact. So why
consistently,
every time PSG got fouled, every time they got touched, there was a call. There was
so
a
I could
call.
say this as an unbiased fan. Okay, I can say this honestly. So what I saw was a ref who wasn't playing towards. So sometimes you have refs who and who protect the players for every little call, and you see that, and people feign for those fouls and stuff like that. What I saw was a ref who allowed both sides and wasn't falling for any of that like touch and fall down kind of stuff. Both teams, and Kai is very renowned, and sometimes your reputation precedes you. I'm not saying you're always fouled, but your reputation might precede you. So those incendiary fouls, which might be on 50-50, might be a foul. It's like, you fake a lot, so yeah. And some of those, it's like, Kai, come on, guy, come on. You're a 6-foot dude. Come on. You fall down like that?
True. And then we get into the second half. That first 10 minutes within the second half, PSG were playing with a lot more vigor. They were playing with a lot more pep in their step. Suddenly, like Arsenal was truly on the back foot. That's when you start seeing like some much more wild challenges coming in. João Neves and Vitinha, they were just bulldogs in the midfield, just harassing every time every time Declan had the ball to be able to try to pin something forward. We could not get anything from Odegaard in this match. And then once you actually get through onto that left side, one thing that really got me was Mascara got a yellow card for holding the ball for 3 seconds. Now, I would really like to know as to what that reason was, because I can understand like the normal 10-20 seconds, but isn't there like a 3 to 8 second rule or something like that? But that changed tactically how Mascara could have played, because he got a yellow card for nothing. And that I felt as though that changed the battle with Kvaratskhelia, because they started attacking that side way more. They decided every attack now needs to just come from this left, because Arsenal
most
now have a
definitely,
weakness.
yeah. I mean, they definitely saw the weakness on that, and I'm not even going to get to the yellow card, but Mascara should have known better. He knew exactly where he was in the box right there, and that was a rookie move. It doesn't matter, he could have had no yellow cards, and it's like that was a mistake of youth and inexperience. And I think that's what we see in the second half is inexperience versus experience when it comes to winning. You saw a PSG side who's won it before, like you said, they're back to back against beating Inter. They're in another final. They know what to do. They know what to do to win. And that's what we saw in the second half. Unfortunately, I mean, it pains me to say, but that's what we saw, is Arsenal getting on the back foot, and obviously substitutions were being made. But that Mascara foul was a piece of an experience. He should never have done that, and he's gonna have to live with that. But that's what these are the mistakes that get made that give these chances. So yeah, was the yellow card bullshit? Probably. But either way, it didn't matter. They knew to attack that side, and either way he did that foul. So, yeah. What can you say other than that?
Look,
Nothing you can really say about the foul. Like
the folly of youth.
Yeah, I understand that foul completely. Like he bundled him over with Kvaratskhelia, like finally beating him in that possession. Like that entire match before the yellow card, Mascara had a really good handle in the situation. But
but that's what it takes, Doug. That's what it takes in those big moments and big matches. It's one moment that can change the whole thing, and that's what it is. It's consistently. It's great. He was great for like 45, 50 minutes, but he needed to be great for 85 minutes until the guy was subbed off. Okay, that's how you win championships.
He was subbed off in the 66, so directly.
You know what I'm saying?
After.
Unfortunately, I think it was unfortunate this time.
No, it was definitely unfortunate as time hit, but at the same time, after the penalty, PSG started making some very wild subs themselves. Kvaratskhelia, and Dembélé definitely came off. Kvaratskhelia was first to come off at 84th. Dembélé comes out in the 95th. Arsenal starts to throw in all of their subs. Like DC was talking about, it's very interesting to see Odegaard come out for Gyökeres. I would have expected Kai to come out for that,
absolutely.
Just like do a direct like for like. But Arteta doubled down on doing a 4-4-2. with Martinelli coming in for Trossard in the
Yeah.
83rd, Noni coming in for Bukayo in the 83rd as well, Gyökeres in the middle in the 66th. So it was very interesting to see that tactical battle just play out. Arsenal did get a lot more within the later end of the second half and into extra time, but you also saw PSG specifically within the end of regulation and then as well in extra time have the better chances that didn't go. Barcola
Yeah.
on another day actually scores one of those two chances that he had, but he didn't, which kept the game at the standstill it was. So when we get to extra time, you start to see how Arsenal might need some help in again shoring up in the attack because Gyökeres was kind of MIA as the striker against Pacho and Marquinhos. He was kind of ushered out of the game. Noni, he did not get that penalty shout. It's very tough. Is it normally in Champions League matches? I'm not even talking about English Premier League matches. In Champions League matches, when someone bundles over the back of somebody, especially when the attacking player is in front of the player, yes, they go side to side and they hook arms, but you do see Mendes do take his legs are starting to take out Madueke in the back, and that's why I thought it should have been called a pen. Now, TC, would love to hear your thoughts on why that wasn't called, but for me, that's why it would be called a pen.
Look, I think based on the trajectory of both players, I think it was more of a body contact of a coming together rather than a collision or or misintended attempt to retrieve the ball. So regardless, it wasn't like it was more about just a contact of bodies coming together. So, and sometimes when you're looking at the rules, there is an allowance for a contact of bodies. Sometimes people do come to contact, especially in the box. They play that when one player hasn't necessarily, especially we know that players do attempt to wrap and get their feet in there to try and somehow ensure that there is contact purposely. So that's why you look for the intent. If there's no intent from the player, from the opposing player to try and win that ball, was there any attempt by the other player to try and deceive? Not necessarily. Therefore, it seems to be both parties were really just like coming together. And like I said, it was on the box, like going down for the obvious attempt to make sure that any contact, you're taught to make sure you go down. It's a big game. Hopefully you'll get the same.
Yeah.
That being said, penalties and contacts are very subjective to the players, especially those contacts where it wasn't like, look at your foul. Yours, you can't argue against what you saw what happened. There was direct contact intent. So you have to look at those and you see from the opposing PSG player, there was no attempt to try and put in there was nothing like that to trip him up. It was a natural
His body
position.
tripped him. That's my only thing. His body tripped him.
His body tripped him look, yes, okay, fair. I just don't think that anyone's going to award that based on the fact that it's very soft. So, and what the rule is, the VAR has to have enough evidence to overturn it.
Yeah.
So what VAR looks at that, sir, is to say, and it's a big game now, and I get that. So they're looking at to go, is there enough evidence to say, yo, fuckface, you made the wrong call. This is what we've seen. That's what, excuse my language.
Well, VAR, UEFA did say after the match, actually earlier today, they did apologize to Arsenal for not looking at, at least not bringing the referee over. They did say that should have been at least looked at the second time by the referee.
Blatant lie. I'd like to see that actual statement from UEFA and not from a tweet that you're seeing and saying, ha! I saw it. There it is. I knew it.
We're gonna post that up. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, Igor over there with your harsh ass voice. One question I have though, I think that, look, in all honesty, in all jest, I mean, you guys having a lack of humility, that's beyond the point. I think the thing is that you put yourself up there and you played well. you were undone by that, but no one's going to remember the full game, right? Everyone's going to remember the winners, unfortunately. And what you can do is the next day you had your parade. And for me, that was the hardest thing to watch was how do you go from like that, you know what I mean, going to bed next day, flying back to London, and then having that. Obviously, it's a great thing, but it must have been so difficult. And I just hope that next season you can continue on that because it was like you said, it was you played good teams. Now, do you think you're a world class team?
Absolutely. Good question. Ask Kenya.
Just because you play world class teams, you know, you're like, are you a world class team? You know what I mean? Like, are you world class? Like, if
Where'd
you
you
were on
finish again?
FIFA, would you have 5 stars above your name if you're on FIFA, or would you have 4.5?
No, you would have five. The defense gives you five right away. Defense and midfield would give you five right away. Yes, the
Yeah, turn on
attack is
your
a little
FIFA
bit
right now
light.
and check.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The
sorry.
team right now is a
EAFC.
5 star, and I understand what that gentleman was getting at. Like, hey, this is where the level is. We need to up it. I understand that, but what
Yeah,
I'm looking at is the progress that's already been made, and now they do have that title that's behind them, specifically
Mhm.
this season, to be like, oh, yeah, you can give it to them as a world class team. They've defeated world class teams this entire Champions League campaign, except for PSG. This is their third time losing to PSG in 2 years. Like, it's okay. This is still like a thing of decision, especially of opinion. But watching the squad that actually played, and watching also the squad they played against, that's one of the best teams you could honestly say. Just the previous round in the semifinals, the
okay,
first
calm
match
it
they
down. Don't try and pump them up to make yourselves look good. They're a good team, but they're not the best. They didn't
no
have a
they
great season. They
they
didn't have a
pumped
great season.
they the team that everybody thinks was the second best team in the world, Bayern. They pumped them for seven
Yeah, they
goals.
had a great. I agree with that. I just think that I think you guys are a very good team. I think that the only boogeyman here is that you haven't won Champions League now, and almost that is going to now be your next step. It's
Yeah,
like you've been so
Most
close so
definitely.
many times. You've been in 4 finals, and you've lost 4 times. Is it
yeah.
something that you maybe start to believe is psychological that it's just not for you? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but that. If that was the case, then we would have given up 22 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, like the
Uh,
definition of insane is trying to do the same shit over and over.
yeah,
It's not just playing
and
football. It's
I
not
was like,
just
in actual
in
competitive
season in, season
sport,
out.
I
It's
think
not
in
just
No, look,
playing.
competitive
I
sport
jest. I
that
do
doesn't
jest,
that
boys. Obviously, that's in jest. I think
of course. I was like, in competitive
Yeah,
sports, you kind of have to do the
no,
same
you
thing.
have to. I
yeah,
think
in
it's
the
just it's
definition.
interesting that
Yeah,
like 2006. I remember these hard team to play against. A very good Barca side, if I'm not mistaken.
They were.
Um, and
Referee
so
didn't do well that match either. But
that game, y'all were rocked by the ref. Facts. That was paid. Barca. We know Barca pay people. We know
yes,
Barca pay.
yeah,
We know
we know
that's
Barca
fact.
pay.
So it's just I think it's just interesting fact that and sometimes pinches that because there's certain teams that they start to build up a moniker, right? They get to a certain point and they just can't get over that hump. At what point is that hump for you? Four finals. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, when are you gonna get there? And you were there. You were there. You were this close. You were this close. This close.
Well, the thing that
no,
I'm very happy about is, and I've seen this as well today or over the weekend. That team in 2006, they were all dispersing, going other places. Henri was heading to Barcelona. Vieira was no longer going to be at the squad. Pires was leaving. Lundberg was leaving. Like, that was just the beginning of the end for the squad. Cesc Fabregas starts to go into the ascendancy the year after. That's like that's when Wenger was like, "Yeah, we have to rebuild because we're buying into a stadium. Things are happening like this." So I am more elated with hope, especially because we know that our defense is in a very strong place, especially with the two Rolls Royce defenders and the goalkeeper that we do have right now. Are we going to have to give up one of them to continue on the ascendancy? I do know the attack needs to have a complete upgrade as well. There are some names that I want to throw out there a little bit after this, but yeah, like I have more hope about European heritage than I did before watching this match because nervous wreck along with millions and millions of other fans around the world watching this as Arsenal supporters, and everybody thought we were going to get peppered, destroyed, and we really made it into an English Premier League match. Just very gritty. You're going to have to break us down after a goal has been made. And it didn't work, but it didn't work all the way into penalties. If it was like a 2-2, but like they got their late score and then we had to go into penalties, I'd be like, but we didn't score. We hadn't scored since the 6th minute. So I'm very happy with what I saw. We did the best with what we have,
Of course,
and
you
I
have to be
can't
happy. That's your team. You can't be happy. I mean, otherwise, you'd be like, yeah, you're losers.
exactly. But
Hey,
it gives me hope. So, Waj, I don't know how
Yeah.
you feel.
yeah, no, honestly, I feel the same. It was, I honestly, the odds were, I think, stacked against going into the match. Also, just, and both teams obviously are exhausted, but, we played a massive season. Our players are tired. We've just won, and that's the thing, we've won. If we didn't win the Prem, I think we'd all be a little bit different, right? Obviously. But we won the Prem. We have to look at what Arteta, what the team has done this season and the ascendancy we've been on. We were in the semi-finals last year for the Champions League and we came second place. Now we just won and we went to the finals. So, what's coming down the pipeline, I'm very excited for. Especially as you said, there needs to be investment done. And Arteta's already made that very clear, along with the ownership, that they're going to be investing in more. They know what they have to do, and I'm excited to see it. It was not the fight, it was not the result I wanted. But it's the result that we got, and as Dex said, they're coming back for more. So I'm excited.
Yeah. And then before we switch out of the Champions League, watching this team, PSG, go back to back, amazing accomplishment. Definitely have to tip the cap over to Luis Enrique and his boys. Watching what that squad can still become. Marquinhos is looking that he's going to leave. You might lose Brian Ruiz. Are they going to keep some of their players like Barcola? Is he going to stay because he wants to actually start more matches?
Yeah.
Um,
Premier League's on alert for him.
yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, PSG is looking to start offloading some players. Like when you're a champion, you still have to continue to evolve yourself. You get like 2 years is an amazing accomplishment because they were able to keep it all together. 3 years is the hard one because not everybody is Real Madrid and just has the best players of all time all playing with each other. So uh, PSG, but got to give much kudos to what they've been able to accomplish within these last 2 years, and definitely love to see how, especially how they continue to evolve. Kvaratskhelia, Doué, and Dembele playing together.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Next seg is Arsenal season is done. Where would you like to see them go next in the transfer market? We've already discussed. Uh, Attack needs to be upgraded. I think right back also needs to be upgraded. Sia Mascara, very happy that he was able to have the match that he did, but he is a backup center back playing right back. Timber, his fragility, watching that in display at this juncture of the season, I don't feel as though if Timber is starting that match because he isn't injured, that penalty isn't given up. So I'm looking more at a right back and then as well a left winging attacker. Those are my two. Waj, what are you looking for?
Um, yeah, another left wing attacker for sure, or even a replacement, especially because Martinelli is being courted. Let's say, right back for sure. Like you said, Timber's fragility is one thing. We can't have Marquinhos being the number one. And then the midfield. I mean, I love Odegaard and Eze, but still there needs to be more work done in the midfield. And obviously, there's players like we've also got some dead weight that we need to get rid of and make those and create those spots. So the attack, I mean, honestly, it's actually all three for me, but mainly attack and defense. With that right back and a proper backup striker for Gyökeres.
I was gonna say, any right backs that you're looking at right now, or any
Ooh,
strikers that you're looking at?
not yet. I'm still percolating. I'm looking, and I want to see what comes out of the World Cup too. So that's when we get to see some real high flyers. You never know.
Yeah, true. I would say names for me, pie in the sky that I've always loved for this squad would be Rafael Leao. Like he has
Yeah,
been the guy that I think would clearly signal Arteta's tactical change, not a full giving up on the defensive acumen that he has already set with his team, but also giving the squad a real outlet on the left that could be able to create on his own. I really think that is something this squad needs. Somebody that can be able to unlock the defense on the left side. I know that there's reports out for Morgan Rogers, but I know TC really wants to have Morgan Rogers up in Manchester, but you never know what's going to happen there. So I would say look out for him on the left, and then at right back, I would say look at Fernandez over at Porto or
that's a
Achimpong
nice
over at
choice.
Chelsea. Like, can we dip in again to get another player from Chelsea?
Every year, right? Shit, the way that they finished out.
Yeah.
That might be an option.
Yeah.
TC, who do you want? What's
I
your shot?
don't want anyone for Arsenal. I don't care about Arsenal.
For
So
you,
for
man.
Manchester United, I think we're talking about Mateus
Jeez.
Fernandes. We're talking about a couple of centre halves that we're looking at specifically, and then obviously potentially three midfielders between like Anderson, Fernandes, Baliba, or we've just made that deal for the guy. Well, it's in process. Don't know if it's going to go through yet. From Atalanta for Edison,
Yeah,
Brazilian
that
midfielder.
that one is a really good one. Brazilian, very good player.
Yeah, I have apprehensions about
Mhm.
players from the Italian league, specifically. I think the way that we've seen that if you want players to really hit the ground running in your team, they need to be Premier League proven. And
Yeah.
so what that seems to be is like, I think what you need to do is like start looking at pumping up these. The unfortunate thing is there's already so much money in the Premier League. So when you go and buy like a player from Bournemouth or whoever, you give them 80 mil, they go buy another 4 or 5 decent players, And it's interesting because I was watching something about Wayne Rooney yesterday, his thing with David Moyes, his interview with David Moyes on his podcast, and he was saying how the money that they made from Wayne Rooney's sale to Manchester United allowed them to build a team of solid individuals. Phil Jagielka, Phil Neville, your
Seamus
captain, your
Coleman.
your
Yeah,
your coach,
yeah.
Arteta, and some of these other players that really propelled Everton to like a top. At that time, it was like a top 6, top 8 club consistently, and
Mhm.
so that is like a scary in itself. But you do want players that are proven. Like you want to kind of go get like you'll see players who play like at some of the clubs. Like now's a great time to look at West Ham players. Some of them going down. They can handle it, and you're
You
like,
love a
listen,
West Ham
Definitely.
player.
because that's my way. I was like, dudes, why, stop this going for, yes, sometimes you get them cheaper, but then you don't know if they're going to be able to handle or not. You know what I mean? Like it looks like there's certain leagues and certain teams that players can't, like, it seems like people like, they don't give Portuguese league much hope, but most players who seem to come from the Portuguese league seem to do very well in the Premier League.
Yeah.
There's never like this long adaptation period there. That being said, it's not all players, but it is, what we've seen is Italian coming from Italian takes a bit of time. Um, and, especially, if there's like the Spanish league, to your point, a lot more conducive to fouls. They applaud more technical play and less vigorous, rough housing play, Whereas the Premier League allows a bit more rough, like on the you guys would be blown up every corner in Spain, right? And that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that kind of thing. I'm very skeptical about spending 50, 60, 80 million on a player who's never played in the Premier League. You know what I mean? Then he
Oh,
goes and he gets shafted by friggin' Sunderland away. And he's like, what? And you're like, yeah. Yeah,
And let's take note. I mean, especially this season, how many of the big money buys were either could not adapt quick enough in the first half of the season, or they got injured. Isak being that major one, but like Jesus, it was so many of them. Even and all of us had it. It was Gyökeres for us. Couldn't unlock his stuff. It was Sesko for you guys. Isak and Florian Wirtz. I mean,
but Isak is Premier League proven.
Yeah, right, but he was also injured.
Right. Yeah, he got injured, so that was just that was the fuckery for him. But like all these guys that came up from abroad, all the big money players who came from abroad, not all, but most of them. It took them a while. To your point.
Yeah, even for our squad, Eze took a while to have to settle in. There was a period where he didn't even play during the Christmas time period.
Well, I mean, think about it. You move into a new house, and I mean, you don't know your housemates, right? It's not like you can just go straight and start using their peanut butter and jam straight away. You kind of have to hey, let me get to know you. Yo, you mind if that kind of thing. I think that's part of it. But I think it's also is understanding when you go play anything repetitively with someone, if you play poker with the same group of people every week, you start to understand the mannerisms or what their tells are or what it is, how they play. Same with football. You know that if I play with you every week, you know that I like to come in short and then go long. You know I like it a certain way. And I think when you come into and you don't have preseason essentially, or you're injured, or there's just this uncertainty, it does take that time. That's what we see. That's why I think it's important to get the deals done early so that you have a full preseason. Now, this is the worst year for that conversation.
Oh, yeah, this is the worst. Honestly, this is the worst year for Arsenal to have gone so deep in all of the competitions that they did.
Yeah.
Some of these players, let's say England make it potentially they'll make it to the semifinals. Let's say England makes it to the semifinals. That means Saka and Declan Rice will have played 70, 75 matches.
Boy, I feel sorry for your players, and I'm so glad for my players. I'm so happy. 40 matches tops.
Honestly, I'm looking at it and I'm like, huh? Y'all did it right this year. For the Premier League as well. Right after that, it is going to be extremely tough. Arteta, that is his next challenge, is to actually be able to weigh matches against what this new season is going to look like with all of these players coming back from international duty. This is why if you have world-class talent that actually play for their country, you're going to have an issue when they leave from international tournaments. So he's really going to have to get into his bag of figuring out how to manage to a T, because he needs to manage minutes this season very, very well. There's no just putting people on for 90 minutes at a time. Like, if some of these players who've played 60 right now, Arsenal has played 63 matches this season. That's just entirely too many.
It's insane.
Going far into going to the Carling Cup final and losing, making it to the Champions League final and losing, winning the Premier League after 38 matches, and then as well the FA Cup, not the semis, the quarters. All of those matches are going to have wear and tear on a player's body. Also, to TC's point, it's a very physical league. It is a very grueling league. It's the most running up and down in a league that there is, but it also has the most money. And so that's always something that is going to pop up for people.
I just want to do I just did a quick check, So Man United, you guys have got 12 players going to the World Cup. Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro, Cunha, Mainu, Rashford, Mazraoui, Zerki, De Ligt, Fernandez, Dallo, Biendir, and Ugarte. And we have 16. So both of us have pretty much got guys, we've got both of us at 11s are all going, right? Like Saliba actually just had to pull out today from a back injury. It's way too much on these players to do this. And of course they want to go. I mean, this is what they've dreamed of, right? Making it to the World Cup and winning the World Cup. It's the pinnacle of any footballer's dream. But then they have to go back, and most of these guys are going to make it relatively far. They'll make it to knockout stages. I'd say for both of our teams, 75% of these players are going to make it to that point. So best of luck to them, and I hope they can just have their minutes managed, and they come back to. And I speak, also for Man U here, that you guys, that are the ownership, make sure they get these deals done for the players that are who are not going, and then they can get these guys bought, and just because it's these guys are going to be coming in broken. Mark my words, the first 2 months of next season are gonna be slow.
Yeah, the first 2 months
Wow,
of the
for you
campaign.
guys, maybe.
Well, yeah,
We'll
not so
see
much
you in the
slow.
back. Back.
Right. We'll see the lower league teams like Everton and Everton's out. We're gonna see those other teams like just creeping up while all the top six are eating from healing for injuries.
Yeah. Having no summer break and then going directly back into work would just drive me insane. Especially if your team gets far in the tournament or potentially wins or loses in the final. Like that is just going to sting on a
Well,
level.
they are going to have, unfortunately, what it does mean is that teams that do go late are going to have disrupted starts to their season. So if you do have England going to the semi-finals, those players will just not be there for they won't be there for preseason at all.
Yeah.
Okay, they won't be there
Mm-hmm.
for preseason. We know what happens, and then what you have is you're going to have them filling out later on as they get back into it, because it's only fair. Let's be honest. Like, I'm actually grateful that we finished on the last game. You guys only finished on Saturday and still had parade, right? So my team, my player was able to have like a week with his family before going to meet up and go to with Portugal and going to this thing. If Portugal go deep in this, Mrs. American USA tour straight, and then he's going to have 2 weeks off. Though we will give him 2 weeks. Unfortunately, we will only give him about 2 weeks off, so he might miss up until the beginning of the season. He won't be ready for the first game. Try catch up his fitness for that second game. That's what usually happens, and then you have that static start, hoping you have a nice fixture, a decent fixture, and enough players, or players that have gone out early enough, because that sometimes happens. Like, you make it to the quarterfinals, so that now it's like, if I take a break, I'll miss preseason, but if I go back right now, I'll make preseason. And then they're like, well, you have to take a break, because I think sports science, it says that you have to take a break. Like, we just can't. They'll have to take a break.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is going to be an interesting start to the season, I think. So one eye on that. That being said, I think this year, again, we have African Nations Cup, if I'm not mistaken, next year in January. Um, uh, they were talking about moving it to the nights. I think because
I think it's too early because it's every 2 years.
yeah, but they were going to move it up 1 year because of what happened during COVID.
Oh.
Yeah, no, you are right. It's gonna be 27 in Kenya. It's gonna be June to July next year.
I'm just trying to see if they just moved it to the regular slot. Have they moved it to the regular
Yeah.
international?
Yeah.
Finally, okay.
Elijah was right. Yeah.
Yeah.
June to
Okay,
July.
good.
20,
So then,
20.
yeah, there we go. That's another thing for us. Like, we have African players, which is another problem for the next year. So as you see, it's just like a repetitive thing, and then the next year's fucking Euros. So
Yeah, it just never stops for some of these guys, but this is
this is
why
what
we
they
get
signed up
paid.
for. This is why they get
This,
paid
yeah, this
350,000 a
is
week.
the life.
Yeah,
This is
body's
the
not a
life.
machine though. The body's a machine,
Yeah.
but we treat it like you can just
It's not a
repair it.
wonderland.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, that's why you become Phil Jones. You're smart. You play and you get injured, and then you go to the gym every day and you eat and you get your body right. But
yeah, but sometimes you don't want to only do that. Like you said, you need family time. You need time to just like not even think about this stuff. You need a vacation. So yeah, it's just going to be very interesting for these guys. All right, before we end, I did want to talk about Arne Slot got fired on Saturday right before the Champions League, and we hadn't talked about it. So as
Are we
for
not
men
going to talk about that?
one
We just
in
going
the
to talk about
Premier
Arnie,
League,
like because there's two of them, right? Like two massive ones.
yeah, Arne Slot gets fired by Liverpool. It's insane to think like, oh, like you just do this to sweep away the bad news. So, as he did win a Premier League title, and then he's now unceremoniously just gone after a season. The top six almost has all new coaches going into it, outside of uh, Emery with Aston Villa and Arsenal with Mikel Arteta. So How do you think this ripple effect is going to change with Liverpool? Waj, I'll start with you.
I'm actually still trying to kind of wrap my head around it because, like you said, it's the ripple effect of no longer having Pep. Arnie Slot out. Obviously, you got Michael Carrick, who's who now filled as the permanent manager over at Man United. Chelsea's just Chelsea. Like that's just a revolving door. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting start to the season. Some teams have got to make some. I mean, those are some two massive shoes to fill, and those are two jobs open at the same time that have basically that hasn't happened in a generation. So I think this is going to be very interesting to see who takes these positions because obviously also Jose Mourinho has just taken on Real Madrid. And so there's a lot of great managers who are now occupied either with World Cup teams. They just took jobs or they're taking breaks. So I mean, could this be the return of Zidane? That'd be my only thing. Could you imagine? Because
that'd be crazy to see him. I think he's already said he's taking over France, though.
See, exactly. So
he's taking up for Deschamps after this.
You're right. Everyone got a job. So this is just gonna be a really interesting time for the top six. And we've got some super seriously coveted jobs right now. I think the main difference that we'll see between Man City and Liverpool as opposed to Chelsea is that Chelsea left too high within their ownership group, as opposed to City and Liverpool that are going to go shopping. And they've got amazing pedigrees and a lot of money to burn. So yeah, let's see who comes in. But also, whoever comes in, can they handle it? Can they be one-hit wonders like Slot? Will they just crash and burn like basically everyone that's come through Chelsea? Or they find longevity. Now that's the question. And can Emery and Arteta, can they take advantage of this? So this is all the questions that we'll have to see that will develop over the next couple of months. I'm excited for all of it. It's going to be some crazy drama.
Yeah, there's a lot of storylines going into the Premier League. TC, as Liverpool is y'all biggest rival, how do you feel about this Arne Slot news? And
I think it's just like vindictive of the Premier League and how we expected to, immediate results. I mean, this man brought a Premier League, and what Arteta said was that like managers that had success are usually managers that are usually in the job for like longer than for 5 years, for like a period of time to get them to implement their policies and stuff. And so to see that and still see Liverpool still made it to a Champions League, why not give him like a time to like correct it? He had one season where he did amazingly, one season where he didn't do as amazingly, so let him correct it. But all Liverpool fans are like, oh no, get rid of blah 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 blah. Like, let's hope the next managers are able to correct that. You know what I mean? Based off that, you know what I mean? And you don't just get the slide, because what he was able to do with that team, yes, it was like there were parts of it. He got a squad that he needed to tweak, and unfortunately, he got, which happens. You get ebbs and flows. Three of his biggest players just weren't consistently at their best the whole season, and that's okay. But all that means is that, like, I think there's still stuff to work off now. To fucking fire him after that, I think is just ludicrous. Like, in all honesty, like, in my opinion, I get it. He's part of Liverpool and he should be at the top there. But, the expectation that he's made it into the Champions League, they're there again. You could really build on from that this season, replace Salah, look at other things and build from there. But no, now a new manager, whoever's coming in, Areola, has to go in and has to implement and think about that, start to get to know his players. I'm sure he's got all the kind of data and all that kind of thing. But it's now he has to start again, and sure, great. But I would have thought Liverpool would have been in a better position to continue with Arne Slot and have that continuity into next season. Maybe I would have said after this season, you'd be on thin ice, man. Let's see, 3 years. But that being said, we have one of the young best managers in the world coming to the Premier League next year, and Michael James Carrick. I think what we're going to see is the new Carrick way of football, really revolutionizing the way that you see, like Pep did, the way that systems are made, the way that we still look at rudimentary positioning and transitions. Look forward to it next year, you Arsenal fans.
Well, I mean, as we just said, Manchester United has a chance to go on a super run in the very beginning of the season because a lot of the teams, their best players are just going to be tired when they get back. So the very beginning of the league season, that table is going to be topsy turvy. So it's going to be really fun to see. I've been calling for Slot's head just because he lost the fans. That's honestly what I think it truly was at the end of the day. You lose the relationship with the fans, especially with Liverpool. Uh, it's really difficult to be able to create that connection. That club feeds on connection, so it's just really
Yeah.
tough. And sadly, he had to get sacrificed. So we'll see what they do. I feel bad for those players that he bought in after winning a title. Those players are now just kind of stuck in a weird place. Frimpong, I saw you jump the highest I've ever seen out of your seat. You now need to fight for your place as a right back or a right winger because you weren't good enough this past season. You got other players, Rio, that kid from
Ungamah, yeah.
Chelsea. Yeah,
Yeah.
you he's got an opportunity to fight for that left wing position. We'll see what happens. He's a really good player. So Isak, is he going to come back healthy enough to actually lead the line, especially with Ekatike? He's injured. He needs to come back fighting stronger. So it's a very weird domino effect that's going to affect that Liverpool squad. So, but one of the things I like,
And to answer the last part, there's no more talisman.
yeah, no Salah, but you still got Virgil. So we'll see.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, TC, Waj, appreciate y'all. Everybody, love, peace,